The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, we are just quite a little bit behind schedule. We won't take much of the time in the preambles. And as usual, I'm your regular host. George Agba is my name. And with me here in the studio is our very vibrant in-house analyst, Silas Ezogu.
Good to have you, man.
Yes, before we delve into the big issue of the day, which is ministerial appointment, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the burden of political IOUs. We will first of all look at some of the top issues in the news. Number one, it has to do with the statements made by President Muhammadu Buhari through his former presidential spokesman, Malam Garba Shehu. President Buhari on Monday said he delayed petrol subsidy removal to allow President Tinubu and the APC to win election. According to the former president, if the fuel subsidy had been removed towards the electioneering period, it would have cost Tinubu and the governing APC their electoral victory. And of course, we also have the issue of the Salah, which is around the corner, where subsidy removal has squeezed the budget of most families, including our Muslim brothers, and the cost of rams and the cost of foodstuff skyrocketed, and the Salah seems bleak because of the lack of sufficient funds to buy all the necessary things to engage in the celebration as usual. Well, Silas, let's look at the second aspect of the issues in the news, which is about the negative effect of subsidy removal on its preparations for Salah celebration. Well, in my own opinion, I feel that every Salah we will always hear Muslim clerics, governors, the president, enjoining Muslim faithful to imbibe the spirit of sacrifice, to emulate the Prophet Muhammad by imbibing the spirit of sacrifice and devotion to the nation's development. And I think that is where such kind of preaching will always hear in every Salah celebration, or hear governors, president, governors preach sacrifice. And I think this is where that sacrifice should have come into play, because it is not always every Salah that must be as juicy as expected. So I think a Muslim brother should learn to sacrifice this year's Salah so that subsidy must go. What do you think?
George, the way you presented it makes it look very sweet. But it's not the pressure on families is not just about ram, eating and drinking. What they spend, what they use in keeping the family warm, head above water, has all been washed away by inflation. Okay, so even if that's how they have the next day to live, so it's just beyond. It's that's the aspect of sacrifice, and we are ready to sacrifice. Nigeria have always sacrificed for the country over a long time. But the issue is, those who are asking to sacrifice, are they ready to sacrifice? Some of them are still behaving like in no times when things were rosy, or we had this kind of fake rosiness that they printed. I was just reading through going through the media as well, that I think the speaker had appointed at something aides. They're talking about cutting costs of governance because things are tight. And these people who already died in the old rule are still behaving the same way.
I read that too.
So
That's the new Speaker of the House of
so
Representatives.
what has changed from Amici?
And Silas, what is even more funny is that even the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria himself, as well, I'm not sure he has appointed up to 30.
No,
Even 20.
I think he just sent in 20 for approval and they
Mm.
appointed a fraction of them for now. So what is the speaker going to do with family advisors? So anyway, so it's just for the boys, and that's what tries to guzzle government funds. When they talk about cost of governance, you know, those advisors will bring their own advisors, the assistant. Down the line, you have a big organization that has thousands of people that you don't know what they're doing. So if they say you should sacrifice, they should also show us how to sacrifice. They should not ask us to sacrifice on one side and then do something completely different on the other side. So, but I I want to encourage our Muslim brothers that they should see it, say it as part of the plans of building a nation. Let's see whether that this, but why it will pain that after something like this and nothing good comes out of it. But if after working, all the sacrifice and end, you see the country moving in the right direction.
Yes, of course, because
We will say, okay, this is what we surprise and this is what we gain.
recently, when you talk of the sacrifice you worth it, I think the gains of subsidy removal should
To be
be
evident,
something every Nigerian should see.
can
Because
see. Yes, of course.
I think the report was yesterday or today's report had it that just within 1 month or 26 days or so of subsidy removal, the federal government has saved up to 200 and something billion naira.
Yes.
It's not about saving and the money announced. At least Nigerians should begin to see the positive impact of that subsidy removal and the monies channeled to other developmental projects that will really benefit the masses. I agree with you, Silas. But coming back to this very issue of subsidy removal, we heard President Muhammadu Buhari speaking through his former presidential aide, Malam Garu Bashiru, saying that look, he actually did subsidy removal, but he did not remove it. He chose not to remove it himself at that time. At the election was around the corner because if he had done so, Tinubu wouldn't have won the presidential election. The governing APC, his party would have lost the election too. Now the question I think I'm asking is that may not justification to keep a policy or a particular action of government that you think will benefit the country. You keep it for the purpose of election. How does that sound? What's your general take on that motion, Silas?
George, when I read that statement, I was baffled. You know, I know the Muslim government has not come out to start, bringing out all the ills that happened under Buhari. We've seen snippets of it. They're talking about the CBN, and you can see that are taken against the FCC and go and but they don't want to because it's the same APC. But for Gabashe to come out, it's self-indicting. It shows that they sacrifice national interest on the altar of
party's interest and on politics.
And you can see what if it was a politics that would have saved life for Nigeria,
that would have waited.
He voted because
election must be won.
So is it not negation of the oath of office they take? That you put the interest of Nigeria ahead of their personal and group interests. So it's very self-indicting, self-deprecating. But even at that, I take that with a pinch of salt a bit. Because this government put every obstacle in the way of Tinubu emerging.
That is what I was even going to say, Mr. Shalla.
Yes,
say, okay, subsidy removal would have incurred Buhari would have incurred the anger of Nigeria.
What about the
cash crunch?
The cash crunch, the Naira swap,
the
capping of withdrawals, and all. In fact, at the time, Tinubu himself
started
on campaign ground,
yes,
shouted that it was aimed against him
because he saw that alone has created serious bad blood between Nigerians and the governing
APC, and he was going to bear the brunt, and he screamed. And in fact, he said, whatever they do, in fact, he will win. So and other things. That's why when he went after, I marvel at someone like TV governor, right? He waited until he was picked. Naturally, I've met Tinubu when election should have found a way to run away from Nigeria. And the FCC chairman too. There's a few things he did too, which put him in the firing line too. That's why he's coming out now. I don't want to say that Tinubu just going, try to get after those who didn't work in his favor.
And especially,
but those who knew that there's things they did that the position of Tinubu will not look away from.
There is this viral video that where Buhari was heard saying, "Look, by the time he leaves office, any of the government official under him that is called upon to give account of his stewardship should never involve him, especially when it has to do with probe and investigation."
In fact, even say they stop him, they run to the chairman of chat.
After hearing that would have been enough to say you're on your own.
Yes,
and to know that you're on your own.
Yes.
No,
I know.
Perhaps they took President Tinubu for granted, thinking that he would just come and go to sleep. The way they, according to them, former President Muhammadu Buhari was always sleeping over issues of great national importance.
It's okay.
Well, let's not really take the whole day on issues on the news. We come to the big issue of the day, which is ministerial appointment, President Tinubu and the burden of political IOUs. Well, the political burden on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to settle party stakeholders, especially immediate past governors with ministerial positions, is a matter that has become a topical issue in the country, with most Nigerians calling the president to keep to his words of taking the issue of competence above partisanship. Well, before we delve into that issue, I think we'll just take a short break to do some commercials and some publicity. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go offline.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Well, we are still on the big issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue for today is ministerial appointment, President Tinubu and the burden of political IOUs. While President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is busy looking for competent hands to constitute his cabinet, there is political pressure on the president to settle most party faithful, especially former governors who work for him for his success in the February 25, 2023 presidential election. And of course, reports in today's leadership newspaper, this story and exclusive for that matter, has it that the president is looking for internationally renowned technocrats to man strategic ministries in his government. And perhaps that is in line with his earlier position that in making his appointment, he will go for competence instead of partisanship. And of course, we've seen a situation where had seen reports of lobbying from former governors and certain party bigwigs who are already waiting in the wings to be appointed as ministers, especially some of the former governors who failed in securing a seat in the red chamber of the National Assembly, that is the Senate. Some of them have turned to the cabinet, to the executive, to secure an appointment in the current or the yet to be constituted cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And most of these former governors feel that since they can't retire to the Senate, they should remain politically relevant in government by getting ministerial appointments. Silas, this is another issue that will actually make or mar the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because in hitting the ground running, I think the people you bring into government matters. Now the question is, if we must begin to depend on appointments to settle people who work for you during election, what now happens when it has to do with you giving stewardship about your administration after all the electoral promises telling Nigerians that you turn the nation around, you will wriggle the country out of the political, social, and economic morass the country is immersed in. And then all of a sudden, you will now go to now appoint spent forces. Although I'm not saying most of these governors, some of them might not be useful in the cabinet. But the idea is the intent and not the appointment itself is what Nigerians are working. The thinking is that most of these former governors, former top government officials that are seeking appointments in the yet to be constituted cabinet are just doing so for political relevance and not because they want to serve the country. They want to work. What do you think?
I've given a good, foreground for this particular topic. Um, I think that you are right to say that many of them are looking for positions in the government to be politically active because uh, they say 24 hours is a long time in politics. In Nigeria, if you lose out an equation before the next political season comes around, you have been so disadvantaged that you may not have the resources and presence to compete with those who are, in the corridors of power. So that's why they want to remain perpetually, around the power cycle so that they can meander their way to positions. So, the thing with Nigerian politicians is that many of them don't have a small address. The politics is just their meat ticket. That is their profession. In other places, you see people who are, entrepreneurs going to politics, their business is still running. By the time they leave, they go back there, they're relevant. But some of them only survive on government patronage. So that's why you see them, jostling for appointment. You're correct to say that some of them may not share the vision of Buhari, of Tinubu, the New Hope vision. Some may not share it. They want just to be there to, tag along and be in the system. So I do not think that after waiting so long to run for president, that Tinubu is going to. I don't see him as somebody who will just waste the opportunity because everybody know how torturous the road was for him to become president. So he is renowned for appointing good hands in his government from every corner. Even in Lagos, we saw him appoint people from different parts of Nigeria to mass strategic, you know, areas of governance. He will hire you just supervises. So for him to be able to do that, he has to be able to appoint people so that people to do the job. So that the job of supervision will be minimal. Why Buhari actually failed, like most people think, is that he appointed people who are questionable characters or questionable competence, and they don't have the place of mind to supervise them. He just appoint them and send them go, and they remove eye from them. So when they start complaining, they won't even come back. You know, so but someone like Tinubu, his track record shows that he's very careful in appointing people in sensitive positions because those sensitive positions will define the success or failure of his renewed hope agenda. And look at how free he is. I don't think he's going to have the energy to go around, sweeping around to know what I'm doing, so much. So we'd rather have somebody who you can trust for the competence and commitment and character to hold those positions in trust for him and administer those places well so that the glory will go back to Tinubu. So when I read that we're looking for international technocrats, international people with international pedigree, who will bring international best practice to governance, I was happy. It means that he may not pander to the pedestrian idea of just appointing some people because they donated money to campaign or that they help him to win election in some places where he did not hope to win election, and so on and so forth. So I am hopeful that some of those Justin will not listen to it. In any case, um, he's somebody who largely ran the election with his own resources. The impression I have is that he ran the election with his own personal resources. If anybody donated anything to the election, they just wanted to to invest in the election so that they can ask for this IOU. Okay? Not that he really needed their money to run for the election. So I don't know whether anybody can hold him over a barrel and say, I gave you this, give me this. Even when Wike was doing what he was doing in Rivers, which might fire on his face when everything comes to the open, the stories that were carried about the meeting in London was that Tinubu did not agree to the demands that Wike made, the kind of demands he made to support him. So it appears that Wike only looked at between the devil and the deep sea and chose one of them. Yeah. And somehow for now it's working for him. Okay. So you cannot look at the president Abbott and say, you must give me this thing because I don't think that he had still that kind of commitment from Tinubu before he won the election into that court. So that's by the way. So we cannot wait long enough to see the list come out. And I hope and pray that we not wait as long as we waited for Buhari for 6 months, only to see all kinds small banner of people, it's coming. Oh, of course, the law has put a particular limit of how many months he can wait to bring the because of Buhari's experience. Okay, the Democrats have put a limit. So within that time, let us see some people who can really move this government because he needs to hit the ground running and running well.
But then you must not rule out this idea of
no
political
I'm not, that, of course already has appointed some people already.
Yes,
and who are politicians who have been with him in the trenches on this one. So that one will there. I only say what I said was that in some critical areas, he will not sacrifice competence on the altar of political patronage.
Yes, and then what I mean is that at least you have given him tools for even thinking of looking for technocrats,
Yes.
even the ones outside the shores of the country, to come and contribute their wealth of experience to nation building.
Sorry.
But what I mean when I say you should not rule out this idea of political patronage is, let me give you an instance. The former governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, while running for the Senate presidency, I think most of his campaign was even based on what is referred to now as a political IOU. Yari's point of contention and campaign was that the Northwest gave Tinubu the highest votes, and they were very instrumental to Tinubu's victory in the 2023 presidential election. And so it will only be fair that a Northwest senator emerges the Senate president. And it was on that basis that Yari was now presenting himself, not because he had something to change the fortunes of the country for better as a Senate president. It was because he was laying claim to the Senate presidency based on the fact that the Northwest were instrumental to Tinubu's victory at the presidential election. Now, most of the governors who worked for Tinubu, like Kano State governor, you remember what happened in Kano State? The elections were such that the son of the soil, and I think one of the beloved sons of Kano, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, was a presidential candidate too. And the people of Kano turned all their votes. And what really happened was that I think Gandhiji used his power of incumbency to drag some votes. Also, all the way the opposition will now claim that it was incumbency that enabled them, Gandhiji, to even turn out even up to 500 and something votes, 1,000 votes for Tinubu. Such a person, at the end of the day, with all that had happened, and with the kind of situation in the state where he's no more, his party is not even in control, he's not even in government, he feels that he has to be, he must stay relevant politically by holding appointments at the national level. Let's assume the ministerial list comes out and Ganduje's name is not on the list. You know what that means?
Politicians are politicians. They look at where they have advantage. Well, Gandhi has already done his bit. Okay? He's not got there in power to say, okay, if you don't give me now next election, I'm going to support things for you. Okay? Another government is in Kano, another party altogether. And if you look at the ascendancy of Kwankwaso in Kano, most people are looking at that politically speaking, going forward, Kwankwaso is going to be more useful to Tinubu if he's going for second term than Gandhi, who's already a past tense in the politics of Kano State. Because in the next 4 years, everything you hear about Gandhi will consigned to the dustbin most of the time, going by the kind of problem, unless they reconcile with Kwankwaso. So if you look at it in that direction, Tinubu can find some other ways to appreciate Gandhi for what he did, but give him position in government if he does not merit it. And see, let's not forget that some of the top governors are also technocrats in their own. Like everyone knows LFI is a technocrat. He is also an common administrator too. It's someone that can.
And people have attested to the fact that he actually worked as when he was governor in Kaduna State.
Kaduna. Even when I was in Abuja too, the only place blemish he had in his career, like when I was in BPA, when the wishy-washy way they sold Nigeria's assets, crumbled all of them, which was still blaming him and Atiku. But I was saying that what he did in Abuja as FC minister, people are still referring to it. When I had almost like 6 or so different FC ministers after he left. What is done in Kaduna now? Those who go there attest to the kind of transformation. So that kind of person, you can put him on his merit. You can put him on his merit that, look, I want someone who will be my minister of works because he's a bulldozer. And we get to what he did in Port Harcourt. Tells you that somebody who has infrastructure development, in his mind. If I appoint him to such a position, he will not just be political privilege, but I appoint somebody who has shown with the power he has held that he can achieve something with it. But some governors are so useless that you cannot use them for anything. Okay, if you bring the candidate without his Gandola scam, is he not going to taint a government whose head already has a lot of baggage? So I think that Tinubu is very smart, cunning, and clever. He will know how to meander between political IOUs and the need to bring people who will deliver on his renewed hope, so that Nigerians will not hold him accountable for failures like holding Buhari now. I think it's too smart to go that line.
Yes, I agree with you, Silas, because on the notes that President Tinubu has started shows that he is someone who has the mind to turn things around. He's somebody who has the mind to change the political fortunes of the country, and of course, he has shown it by the recent appointments he just made. And if he sustains that tempo, I think he will make a difference in terms of governance. You know, that is Nigeria for you. No matter how good your intentions are, sometimes you get consumed along the line.
Yes.
If, by political pressure, and by
You need to
people
remain focused.
who will always expect that you should do things the way things had been done.
You know,
the old order.
Well, Colonel, but Tinubu is senior to most of these governors, you know, superior to most of them in terms of speaker experience.
He had been a
Sweat,
chief governor before.
was a senator, has been a kingmaker. He's now become a king.
Yeah,
So he's like bigger than all those other people who are coming to him. So you can look at them and say, well, this is what I want.
Unlike when you have a former military head of state,
Who was
an
helped to
army
the throne.
general who
was helped to the throne.
and
Yes.
then after staying long out of government and
Well, he
not
lost
actually in
touch.
tune with the current political
you know, terrain.
terrain,
Yes.
and just came from nowhere, and he was always doing things, and I was doing that considering the sentiments of politicians whom he felt he has to actually satisfy if he must remain in power.
Yes.
I think that's why most people say they think Buhari's tenure was all wrong based on the fact that, look, I must appease certain political powers. If not, I wouldn't have been here. Unlike Tinubu, who had been in the system and he
I've been
understands.
plotting to come prison for a long time.
Well, the bottom line here is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must be wary of political IOUs, political patronage in his appointments, because those he appoints into his cabinet will go a long way to determine his success in his government. That is the much we can take for today's big issue. Thank you for keeping tab with us out there. And of course, I will not fail to thank our very vibrant in-house analyst, Silas Ezebu, for addressing the big issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.